Hello, everyone. This is Teddy here. I am going to be going over part 1 and part 2 of Project 3 for the COP3330 class. Excuse me. So first part 1, we were tasked with creating an arithmetic expression that essentially would catch invalid inputs and prompt then to you, the user who's putting the inputs in, to input valid answers. So we're just going to go over a bit of the code here real quick to familiarize ourselves real quick. We have our public class, which is division. That is the name of what this program is intended to do. That's why I named it division. Here you can see we have a scanner input. This is where we get the integer 1 and integer 2 from the user. This while valid input function right here is if the user provides invalid inputs. Let's say the first integer they decide to put A, or the second integer they decide to put A as a letter. Well, because it's an integer and we all know integers can't be numbers, well, it's going to kick it back. As you can see here, it's going to say invalid input, please input an integer. Okay, well, let's say both situations, they are integers. However, one of them's 0. As we all know, you can't divide by 0. So we have a little error message that kicks out right back here. Now, what this does is if either of these scenarios are true, it loops the user back into the very input integer 1. So what this should look like, and we're going to go over it, we're going to do 10 and 0. We'll do the other exceptions as well. As I said before, we're going to put A for the integer. It says invalid input. Let's put 10 for the first one. Now we ask for the second one. Let's put A again. Again, invalid integer. Okay, let's do 10 since it's valid, 0 since it's a number. And as you can see here, it says, please enter a valid number you cannot divide by 0. Okay, well, let's do valid numbers then. Let's do 10 and 2 because 10 can be divided by 2 5 times. As you can see here, the valid answer is shown below. It's calculated correctly. And then exits out. All right, so that code is done. It is showing you that it is working. Yeah. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work on the second part of it now. So let's go ahead and open that up here. And this is going to be our password app verification. Okay, so basically the program design of this is it's going to ask a user to input a valid username and password. And by valid, I mean it has to meet special case. It has to meet number, basically password complexity. Excuse me, my stuttering is really bad right now. It has to meet the user the requirements set by the administration or whoever's administering this code for password and username strength. So we're not just allowing people to have compromised usernames and passwords. TLDR, what we're going to ask for is for a valid username, they have to have 6 characters and it has to have at least one number. I always put in a capital in there, but not everybody has to. Some valid passwords don't have them. But that I didn't include that here because of that reason. Now, for the password, for the complexity of it, it has to have 2 capital letters. It has to have 1 digit. Excuse me. I got tripped up in my own code up here, reading up here. Basically, it has 2 uppercase letters, 3 special characters. So I'll give you an example of that when we get to it. But TLDR, if the username is valid, the valid is checked. If true, the username is valid, false otherwise. We have these notes in here to explain that, if it doesn't verify it, it will loop them back. Similar to what we did in the arithmetic if they put in 0. Okay, so as before, checks if the password's valid. If not, loops it back before. Now, keep in mind, in this code, If you input the password correctly with its matching its, requirements, but you don't do it for the username, it'll kick it back. If you put in the correct username for what it's required, but not the password, it will kick it back. If you put them both in correctly, it's obviously going to kick it back. If you put them in both correctly, it's obviously going to pass. I just wanted to mention that there. Okay, now here's our main application class. This is the password app, what it's referencing here. These are the special... this is what the user essentially sees. This is the outputs, what they see on the screen. It's going to show them the password rules. It's going to explicitly tell them, because when people create their passwords, especially on websites and stuff like that, they always, or I don't want to say always, that's an absolute, but it's very rare that they pay attention to those information, that they specify what is the password requirement on there. However, it is very commonplace to see those, so I wanted to make sure I included it, that it shows what the password rules are to the user as they're inputting them. Alright. This is when you create it properly, and it creates a password verify object. It goes through, it verifies, it passes, and then moves forward. Okay, so we're going to show you this code in action here. As we see here, it properly shows the password rules. I put in the little asterisks there for flair. It just directs them in the same way you would as if you would bold the letters, because this is command prompt. You can't see bold, so it directs your eyes there. I don't know why I explained that, but I figured I would. Okay, so now what we're going to do here is we are going to apologize while I adjust my mic. We are going to put in, let's say we want the password, or we want to show you the incorrect username. Let's just do Teddy1, right? So that is 6 characters and at least 1 digit. That is a correct, valid one according to it. However, let's just put in Teddy. And then we'll put in Teddy1. Here, it kicks back the invalid username. As you can see, it doesn't meet the stat requirements. But let's go and show you what happens if we do correct that. Let's do Teddy1. And then we do Teddy1 as the password as well. Obviously, you wouldn't do this in any kind of scenario. It's not very protected. So don't do this. But for the sake of like simplicity, we're going to do that. All right. Now it kicked it out and it says password didn't meet the requirements. Okay, so let's go in. We'll do Teddy1 as the username because that's a valid one. And then we'll go, it has to have 2 capital letters. So we'll do Teddy and we'll do my last name. Or we'll do the last letter. We'll do 1. Or it doesn't have to have numbers in it, but I always do 1 and then a special character. So we'll do Teddy1 and then use it. It went through. Now we should be able to do this 4 more times, or excuse me, 3 more times. It should save up to 4. However, I'm not going to go through all that. I just wanted to show you guys that, what happens when you don't enter it and it catches it for the username. You don't enter it, it catches it for the password. That's 2 catches and exceptions. And then when you finally put it in validly, it puts it in. If you want to, we can just do it again. Let's do Teddy2. And then we'll do the same password the same way. We'll just change up to 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's user 2 now successfully submitted. Let's do Teddy3. Teddy3. 1, 2, 3. Boop, boop, boop. That's user 3. Teddy4. Username Teddy4. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Boom. Now, as you can see here, these are all the valid users and their passwords that have been submitted. So, everything in the code looks like it's working properly. Yep, that's it. That was my code, and I hope you all have a good day.